Hello, this is Carrie Vacanti with Stampiphany, a great stampin' idea. Today we're going to be working with ombre pads and get some tips. There's 3 different ombre pads, Calypso Coral, Bermuda Bay, and Razzleberry, and they come just different shades of the one color. You can see it goes from light to dark here. They're actually like little mini pads that just click into the ink pad. You can see the little tabs right there. They just pull out and you can put them back in. We don't currently have reinkers for these. I don't know that we ever will, just because there's a lot of shades in there. So I think they're just kind of a one-off type of deal. So let's go ahead and give these a try. I just have a few tips. The first one I'd like to show you, you could actually do with just about any ink pad you wanted to do. I just did it because it had the darker and the lighter, so I used it for that. And this is an emboss resist technique. I sped this up just a little bit because I am kind of a slow stamper in real life. Didn't want you to be bored to death watching me stamp all the time, but I'm just taking the phrases one. I think it's floral phrases. I'll make sure I put that in the description box. And using my Versamark. So the first step is to heat emboss this. So I'm taking Versamark and I'm going to take some white embossing powder and we're going to heat emboss this. And what that does is when you heat emboss it, the image is now basically slick. And it resists ink, which makes it perfect for doing an emboss resist technique. When you're embossing, if you get some powder where you don't want it to go, grab just an old paintbrush and you can brush off spots that you don't want there or some extra powder. Once that's all done, you're going to heat that up. And basically goes from looking like sugar to frosting. That's what I always tell people in my classes, is then you know you're done. So I'm going to take a baby wipe here, dab it onto my ink pad, and just gently swirl onto my paper. And you can see how that image jumps out. And what I did is I tried to focus the darker of the Bermuda Bay in the middle and then just work my way out and use the lighter shades. You'll want to set that off to dry later. Make sure it's completely dry before you attach it to your card. Here's another look at the final version. Just super simple. You can make a bunch of those really fast. So this next layout is the same, but we're going to do a different way of coloring it. And this is where we utilize the fact that these little tabs come out. So we're going to mix and match. Now I will warn you ahead of time, this will muddy up your pads a little bit or a lot. Depends on how much you do this. So basically I turn all my pads to go left to right, light to dark. And I use my lids to kind of hold on to them, and I'm taking them off and just doing a pattern, like every other one comes from the pad. So the second slot I pulled the second color from another pad, the third slot I pulled a color from, just mix and match them any way you want. You could do anything you want. I just did that so I'd remember where to put them when I put them back. So I'm going to take the same flourish that I used before. Here I'm just cleaning it up on my Clean It pad, getting the Versamark off. And I'm going to ink this up. Now when you're inking up an image with the rainbow pads, you want to go with the grain or the same direction as the inks. And you do want to go in a tiny circular motion. That helps blend them up just a little bit so you don't have lines. And also again, when you're stamping, leave your stamp on your paper for a second or two and let that paper soak it right off. And there you have this beautiful rainbow multicolored image. Really fast and easy. Again, that's the type of card that you could make a lot of. So here I'm just taking the ink pads off and putting them back where they go. And like I said, if you don't want yours muddied up, I wouldn't recommend doing this because this will mix the colors just a little bit, although I didn't really mind, so I don't mind mixing them up and playing with them. This next one is kind of typically what you would normally use it for, either letters or an image. The first thing I did is did a background with it. With my congratulations from this, I think it's Floral Phrases. Now, if you go with the ink pad and you go straight across, you're just going to get one color. And if that's what you want to do, that's great. But we want a multicolor, so we're going to go across the colors. And you saw me doing a little tap where I do little circular motions. And again, that helps blend the colors together so you don't have strips of like blank white lines or whatever in there. Kind of like when your printer's going out back in the day. So basically I'm just doing this as a diagonal all the way down my card, and I'll just keep repeating that and I'll offset the word as I go. And that's just the background on that particular card. Now typically these pads are used, and there's a lot of stamp sets in the catalog that were designed to go well with this technique, is to just take a big bold stamp like this flower here. Again, going with the grain, Go in small circular motions again to blend it. And again, when you stamp it, let it set on the white cardstock or whatever cardstock you're stamping on and give that paper a chance to suck that ink off the stamp. Now, on my card, I fussy cut that out, and here I'm going to take the congratulations, and I do want just one shade. So I'm going to go with the darkest of them all, and I'm just going to run my greeting right across that with that color. So that's the darkest of the Bermuda Bay, and that'll show up really nicely on the card. So as you can see the card here again, I just fussy cut that flower. I did the same thing with the leaves, and then I also took the matching framelits and I did some vellum pieces to put in the back. This particular one is a different way to do the leaves. I kind of thought these were pretty how they turned out. I like the white blotches on them. I don't know why, I just do. But what I did was I took the leaf framelit from the matching framelits. Here I am taking my brush die and getting that off. And you'll want to die cut 3 of these is what you want to do. I'm just going to show you this one right here. And all I did was just lay that on the ombre pad, put a piece of paper over the top and just kind of rubbed it in there a little bit, get it to soak in there. You can use a brayer if you want to, or your fingers. I'm kind of a sloppy stamper anyway, so I'm used to getting ink all over, so I don't really mind if my hands get dirty. So once you get it to where you like, now remember the color will spread out a little bit. And I did all 3 of them and just gathered them up in like just a little bouquet there, tied them off with some ribbon. Now this next one is where we can make basically your own DSP. And this is where we're going to pull out our trusty old brayer. Every paper crafter should have a brayer. And I'm going to ink that up. Now as you're inking them up, make sure that you lift up your brayer and keep rolling so it gets all the way around. And as you're rolling it, you want to make sure you slightly turn your hand so those colors blend up a little bit. And again, as you're blending, make sure you lift up the brayer a little bit, otherwise you're only going to get a little bit of it. Now I'm going to take the Swirly Bird set and I'm going to stamp just some swirls in the background. You can see me stamping off this one just because I wanted it a little bit lighter in the background. And I'm just going to stamp that. And as you're stamping images, what I try to do is make it look random, even though it's really not random. Try to make equal size triangle shapes, like the circles as you stamp them, each one is a corner of a triangle and they're semi-evenly spaced. They don't have to be perfect, but it kind of helps to space things out more evenly so you don't have your shapes all bunched up. Now I'm taking my embossing buddy because I just got done stamping this. I want to make sure none of the embossing powder sticks places I don't want. And I'm taking the dots from the same set and went all over the top of it. And now I'm going to cover it with the white embossing powder. My original card, I had just done the white craft pad and white embossing powder, and it worked, it looked okay, but when I got this done and I saw how bright the white was, I really liked this one better. It almost looks like white paint splotches, and I really like that. So this is the homemade, I guess you could say, DSP, all finished, and here is the finished card. You can see the difference. This was brighter with the Versamark and the embossing powder, and then I die cut some swirls in the background, put some dots, and I also used some glossy accents just to put some little clear spots. So I hope you liked all these cards and got a few tips. I'm sure there's lots more that you could do with the ombre pads. Feel free to visit my Facebook page and share any creations that you make. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.